Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Music Podcast, a very special edition of the Dr. Music Podcast, where I step outside of the music realm a little bit, and I have Mr. Terry R. Wickham with me today. He is the president and CEO of Manta Pictures. He's an award-winning writer, director, and producer on such films as Devil's Fire and Double Vision. Double Vision winning the Best Thriller Film and at the Hell's Kitchen New York City Festival, and the Top Audience Award at the International Film Festival Manhattan. Today we discussed his latest film, Beginning of the End. And in Beginning of the End, the lead role is none other than Ron Keel, lead singer, of course, of Steeler. He's the metal cowboy and lead singer of his namesake band, of course, Keel. We discussed some other people in the film. We discussed Terry's upbringing on metal and bringing some rock and roll songs into his movies, and discuss some of his other movies. We also discussed the West Coast Red Carpet World Theatrical Premiere on July 20th at the Edmonds Theater in Washington State for Beginning of the End. And so it's a great conversation, and I invite you to sit back, relax, strap in. This is a great, adventurous conversation with Terry R. Wickham.
Hello.
Hello, Terry. How are you?
How are you? Don't mind if I'm in a tank top. It's really hot here.
Where are you again?
I'm in Long Island in
Okay.
Copiague. So we're in between Amityville and Lindenhurst. So the Amityville house that's famous is
Yeah.
about 2 miles away from my front door. By the way,
Okay.
I can't help but notice your heavy metal Metallica, on your, I've been a
Yeah.
heavy metal fan since I was born in 65.
Okay.
So my first favorite band when I guess I was like 5 or 6 was Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Yes.
And
Not
then my
fragile.
yeah, and my neighbor sold me a bunch of his records. He was a little older than me. So I'd say maybe 4 years later, he goes, I got these records, I'm selling them. I didn't know what they were. I reached in the box, Black Sabbath first album, second album, Led Zeppelin, Judas Priest early album. So I've been listening to heavy metal since basically almost the start. If you consider Led Zeppelin and you know those
Yeah.
bands, Black Sabbath,
Yeah.
that's kind of the beginning of metal. So for me it was in the 70s with my friends too that we're same age. We're like I'm 59, I'll be
Right.
60 this year. So I remember it being like BTO, and obviously in the 86, in the 76, you had like Queen, We Will Rock You in Boston. And then you had Foghat, and you had
Yep.
bands like Nazareth. And, I remember my friend had a Columbia House record club
Yep.
thing. So he got like Scorpions, Tokyo tapes. We
Ah.
got like the Judas Priest had Wings of Destiny. We started Unleashed in the East, and it
Yep.
just progressed into, Iron Maiden, Saxon, Motorhead. I remember in 83, we would go to Tower Records. Now, see, I grew up in Seattle. I live
Okay.
in Long Island, New York for the past 30 plus years, but I'm really from Seattle.
Okay.
Queensryche Metal Church.
Yep.
That's where I'm from. So I remember in 83, we'd go to the Tower Records. There were in Seattle, there were really two.
Okay.
So we usually went to the UW because it was a little bit bigger, it was a little bit closer. And because we were north of Seattle. And I remember in 83, we're sitting there was that night. I didn't have an album in particular I was looking for. We would go through the albums and see if
Absolutely.
a cover was cool,
Yep.
or if there was an interesting record label that we'd already bought records on. So I get this album. This is not a joke. I'd never heard the band's name. I didn't know anyone ever heard him, even me. I'd never heard him. So I pull out this album and I see an anvil with blood all over the front, and I'm like, that's kind of cool that the M goes all the way down and the A goes all the way this way. And my friends go, who's this? I go, it's called Metallica. And they're like, what label? And I flip it over. It says Megaforce Records.
Yep.
What's the name of the songs? Pulling Teeth, Seek and Destroy, The Four Horsemen. I go, you know what? I have no idea what they sound like. And the other good friends were like, we don't know what they never played on our metal shop radio on KSW in Seattle.
Yep.
Nobody had ever heard of him. The album had just probably come out. Now, no, Raven had just come out with All for One on
Hmm.
Megaforce also. So my one friend bought Raven. I bought Metallica. Then we would tape off each other. Remember the
Yeah,
cassette days, tape trading
absolutely.
days? So I bought Metallica before anyone, including myself, even had heard of them. And I remember, wow, this is pretty fast. It's really heavy. And so I remember I went to school and I said to one of these guys, wasn't really a friend, just a guy I knew,
Hmm.
but he was a rocker. And I said to him, I said, look, you got to check out this band called Metallica. He goes, why would I do that? I've got Van Halen, you know, Van Halen, Motley Crue,
Right.
Scorpions. That's what I'm listening to. That same guy, about 6 years ago, when I had to premiere my movie in Everett, Washington, that guy that I went to school with,
Uh,
he came to that. He bought tickets and came to that premiere. And he came up to me and he said, you know what? I got to say something to you. You were right about that band Metallica. I don't know why I didn't listen to you. I paid no attention. They're the biggest heavy metal band of all time.
Yep. Yep.
And you were right.
It's pretty great.
I'm from Seattle, and I'm telling you, the
And that,
best bands from Seattle are like Culprit, Perennial, Metal Church. I'd say Queensryche's. I've seen Queensryche more than any other band in my life, and I'm friends with Scott Rockenfield, as you might know.
right.
He's going to be at the premiere.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff Tate and Michael Welton and all those guys I know, not as good as Scott, but
Mhm.
I've seen those guys, I think like 15, 20 times,
Yeah.
which for me is the most because I've seen a lot. You could tell I'm not bullshitting you as a metal guy. You
Oh,
could
I
tell,
know
right?
that. I
Yeah,
know
I'm
that from
not
seeing the
bullshit.
movies too.
Yeah, yeah. Ralph Sheepers from Primal Fear was in my
Yep.
movie. Veronica Freeman from Benedictum.
Yep.
Michael Romeo from Symphony X scored my movies. George Lynch from Dokken almost scored a film. I mean, the list goes on and on. Pamela Moore from Operation
Yeah.
Mindcrime, she's going to be there. So I know a lot of the way I know a lot of people is not only have I been a heavy metal fan, but I was a journalist for the same amount of time I've been a filmmaker. I remember when I was in Germany in the army, I was stationed in Kaiserslautern and from 85 to 87, that was prime time of metal, right? At that
Yeah.
time, you had
Totally.
thrash going, hair metal, all that stuff. So I remember I went to this record store and there was this German guy. I could speak a little bit of German because we had to be taught that to be in the
Right.
military there. So I just started talking to him and said, "You a metal fan?" Yeah, yeah, metal fan. So we started talking, and I came up with this idea. I said, "How would you like to trade tapes?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "If I gave you a brand new box of tapes, could you take it and put some album on you think I've never heard? And you give me a box tapes and I'll do the same thing for you."
Uh,
And we did that a couple times.
That's great.
And I started hearing bands from, German metal bands that even most people in the States might not have heard,
Yep.
or even European metal bands. You know what I mean? So, because I would go to like metal record stores in Germany, which, when they had Warlock and Scorpions and Accept and all those bands, so it was major. You had people like Gary
Yeah.
Moore and Pretty Maids. I saw Pretty Maids, Saxon, obviously Priest. I saw Keel with Dio. I mean, there's so many bands that came through that. Lee Aaron opened up for Lee Aaron
Oh
blew,
wow.
Lee Aaron blew Bon Jovi off the stage. Oh
Yeah.
my
I
God.
mean, Ron I've had on many times. He and I are friends, and it's always his music, and we talk about that, and it's so cool to have you. And I was wondering, how you came to know Ron, and if you knew his history in music, and obviously you do.
Yeah,
It's
I
pretty
absolutely,
cool.
I absolutely do. As far as Ron, the first time I came in contact with his name, and it obviously wasn't Friends at this time, but I can remember in high school, the Steeler came out with
Yeah.
Yngwie Malmsteen on what's his name's record label,
Oh yeah,
Shrapnel.
Sling.
What's the guy's name
I
from
can't
Shrapnel?
remember.
Mike Varney.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mike
yeah.
Varney.
Yep.
Yeah, so they came out with Cold Day in Hell, all that stuff,
Yeah.
and Yngwie was ripping it, right? And that was my first time coming in contact. So I remember Ron's voice being very distinct. The drummer
Totally.
went on to go into the band Lion, which I
Yep.
freaking loved as well. Man,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah. So I that's the first time coming in contact with Ron. I think in terms of where I really recognized him as a vocalist, like solo, front man, was My friend went to New York. He was actually from Long Island. So he was from Long Island. He lives in Seattle still. Now I live in Long Island. And he went to back home and he brought a record back. And it was the first Keel album, Lay Down the Law. And he said to me, "You got to check out this album." I remember the cover.
Yeah, great cover.
Yeah, you got to check out this album. So I check it out and I liked it. So I obviously it was probably a tape trade, right?
Yep.
The cassette days. And I became a fan of the band. So much so when I was in the army and the second Keel album came out, The Right to Rock,
Yeah.
I bought that, and Get Down, Speed Demon, all those songs. Oh, Gene Simmons produced it.
Right.
That was a heavy, really good melodies, unforgettable tracks. I was sold. Then when a year later, when I was in Germany, I said this to Ron. I think he came out with his masterpiece. I don't know what other people like. I love the Final Frontier.
Yeah, I do
It,
too.
it's kind of a short album. The songs are really brief. Ron's explained to me how that went based on the performance of the prior album,
Right.
how they wanted Gene wanted them to do certain things with the album, and then he, of course, wanted to. I told Ron, I said, that song the album's a masterpiece.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
think it
love that
sounds
record
great.
too.
The two guitar players, the
Yeah.
two guys were ripping it. No pain, no gain. Then you have melodic songs like Tears from Fire.
Yeah.
Final Frontier is a great song. I love the Final Frontier.
Hmm.
Then the album after that, self-titled Keel,
Right.
Somebody's Waiting, all that.
Yeah.
That also was really, I think Michael
Really good
Wagner
too.
produced that, right? Michael Wagner,
Yep.
the famous metal producer, that had some great stuff on it as well. So yeah, that's how it went back with Ron. I think the next time there was like a breakthrough between me and him was, I would say, in 2011. I'm gonna guess. So fast forward to 2011. I had seen Keel live in '86 open up for Dio on the Sacred Heart tour.
That's awesome.
And they sounded great. And I was listening, it was a Final Frontier tour, and they
Yeah.
sounded great. I didn't personally know him yet, so
Okay.
I was just a fan of the band. Um, but then go flash forward to 2011, my friend Veronica Freeman Benedictine put out a band called an album called Obey,
Hmm.
and there was a song on the album. I said to her, "I'd like to direct one of your music videos." Yeah. So I said, "I got this idea. What about if I recruit all the rock stars I know, and you recruit some of the rock stars you know?" Craig Goldie was one of her friends
Yeah.
from Dio
Yep.
and Jafria, and
Hmm.
I said, let's get some people to sing the harmonies, and we'll cut to them filming themselves wherever they live, and they'll film themselves. So I reached out to Ron. I think at the time he was in Vegas,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I reached out to him and I said, "Would you like to film a clip?" And remember, we weren't friends yet. And he says, "That's a great idea. I'm in."
Cool.
And what happened was we were like a month out from shooting it, and they had a choice: go on an East Coast tour, first time ever, or make the video. They
Ah.
they chose the tour,
Yeah.
so we
Yeah.
didn't make the video.
Ah. It's brutal.
So last part of Ron, and I'll try. I don't mean to go on and on. Last part of Ron is, then about 2 or 3 years later, my dad. I grew up around my dad, who's no longer here, is a drag racing freak. So NHRA, Top Fuel,
Yeah.
dragsters, funny cars, pro stock, pro mod, pro bike, alcohol dragsters, alcohol. I grew up around drag racing. That was my
Nice.
whole life in Seattle. And so um, I wanted to make a video kind of for my dad. He was still alive at the time,
Yeah.
and incorporate drag racing here on Long Island. The closest track was Englishtown, New Jersey at the time. So I'd gone to a race and I filmed a bunch of cars going down not the big guys, like the more little guys, because I didn't know if I'd get in trouble for trademarks and stuff.
Right.
I was
Right.
doing like pro mods and stuff. And so I contacted Ron and said, "Ron, would it be okay if I use Speed Demon and I'm
Nice.
just going to put it on YouTube?" And he says, "As long as you're not making money, I'm cool with that." And I wasn't making money. It was just for like a nod for the
Right.
sport, and
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
for my dad. It was actually for the season opener of 14 or 13. You could go to YouTube and watch it.
Uh,
And he said, "Go ahead." And it's there. It's
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
That's
and by the way, last thing I'll say, because I know we'll have more important things to talk about. So last thing about Ron was in, I'd say 2020, 2021, 2022, somewhere around there, I have a script called Anomaly. It's a
hmm
really terrifying ghost story. Most terrifying script I've ever read. And I wanted a real rock star that could act, play the paranormal research leader of that
hmm
movie, because I wrote them to become almost like rock stars. And so I reached out to a bunch of rock stars I knew and said, do you know anyone that can act? And Steve Lynch from Autograph said, what about Ron Keel? I know he went to college for that. So I reached out to Ron again, and Ron said, I'd love to do that. And we've been working together ever since. He shot the teaser trailer for that movie in
Yep.
February 2022. We made a movie last year that's coming out next Sunday, 1 week from today in Edmonds Theater in
Yes.
Edmonds, Washington. Ron will be there. I will be there. Some of my other cast will be there. Scott Rocketfield, Pamela Moore, they'll be there. Um, so Ron and I are, we have not only become very good friends, and I've been a fan of his music,
hmm
but we have high respect for one each other for many different reasons.
Yeah. That's so cool, man. He's one of the few people that I know that can balance that love for the art with the business side of things. He's
Yes.
just so good at that. Like that, as long as you're not going to make money and be unfair, sure, go ahead, use it, spread the love,
Yeah.
it's
And it's another way to expose Keel. It's music, right?
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. So he balances that, walks that line so well. It's just I love the guy so much. He's just so great.
And I'll tell you, you would be very surprised how good an actor he is. He, I wrote a part that was probably very different than anything he'd ever done, including back in acting school at Santa Monica University, the stuff he did 35 years ago on TV, the little movies, bad channels, all the other stuff he did,
Yeah,
which I'm not discrediting that. I'm not talking down about that.
right.
But I wrote a part, well, the part in Anomaly was kind of rock star-ish, even though he's a paranormal investigator.
hmm
But the part he's playing in the beginning and the end, which is a character named Ray, he's kind of like the next door neighbor that everybody kind of knows, but then they get thrown into a situation that is really intense. And I'm the type of storyteller as a director and writer that I don't like cliche. I don't like predictability.
Right.
I'm not going to check the boxes like an executive committee ran script session in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's going to be by a visionary director that's got a unique take on a story. I'm not afraid to tell the story the way I want. I'm not trying to be politically correct. And I'm also not trying to be irreverent just to be irreverent.
Right.
But I'm going to do what I feel is right. And whether you like that or not, you're going to get something that's unfiltered and like one of the things I hate, and I'm not trying to get political, but one of the things I hate about some TV today and even Hollywood films is you could see like they have a checklist like
Yes.
transsexual,
Right.
gay, a black man with the white woman. You got to have your gay man that's really feminine. Then
Yep.
you've got to have your stereotype tough guy, and then you've got to have the nerd. Like I don't work that way.
Yeah. Thank you.
You might see some of those people in my movies, but
Right.
it's going to happen naturally.
And it's got to fit. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many things I see now. They just touch on social issues just to touch on them. So your character goes out of character to
Yes.
to do that, and it's like this person wouldn't say or do that or have that person as a friend, or your character steps out of everything, is blown to bits just so you can incorporate this social issue. And I have nothing against having social issues in a film, but it's got to fit.
I
You
agree.
know,
I agree. I agree. And when it's forced on you, which a lot of TV and movies are from the big guy, I think they feel the pressure of the big money
right?
sponsors, and they feel like, oh, we've got to do this. We
Yeah,
and when you do that, I think the audience is smart enough to know you just feel the forced. It's forced.
yeah.
It's
It,
not natural.
Yeah.
If it happens natural, good. I got nothing against that. I'm not against any sexuality or race or whatever. If you watch my,
Right.
if you took my three movies in Devil's Five, right, which
Hmm.
was released worldwide, it's out there, people can watch it.
Yep.
The lead in Devil's Five Wraparound is German, Ralph Scheepers.
Yep.
The lead in Stash is from Israel, Amog Pale. And then the lead in Abandon is from Ghana, Seaki
Hmm.
Tete. So Ghana, Africa, and Israel.
Yeah.
I go all over the world. I've been doing that since I was, but I don't. There's not a conscious choice why.
Right.
If
Right.
it comes, it comes. That's the way
Yeah.
it goes.
And that's great. I mean, that shows through. You're not saying something just because it's supposed to be said in the social realm of things. You're saying it because it fits your script, it fits your story, and
Yes.
that's great. That's really
And
cool.
it might even be like in the case of Siaki and Abandon, she auditioned, all the other people auditioned, she had to be the best one.
Yeah. 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 Yep.
So I wasn't looking for a girl from Africa. I remember there was a little bit of nudity in that movie, topless.
Okay.
And I knew that would restrict on how many people would even allow themselves to try out for the film.
Right.
I think there were 12 women. And when I auditioned them, there were came down to four. And one was a redhead, one was Latin, one was a blonde, Caucasian,
Hmm.
and one was from Africa. She's black.
Hmm.
So I looked at it and I said, who would most people take? And I said, the blonde Caucasian. So I said, she's out. I don't
Yeah.
want this. I don't
Yep.
want to be like everybody else. Then I said, okay, who would be the most bold choice? Not because she was black, but I said, okay, probably the black girl. And I said, who's the most attractive? Had nothing to do with body or
Right. Right.
chest or size or anything. Who is the most attractive? I said, the girl from Africa. Perfect teeth, beautiful face,
Hmm.
great smile. Then maybe the most important reason, I thought, who's going to be the best to work with? And I remember she said to
Yeah.
me, I'm so honored to audition for you. And I could feel that humbleness. It wasn't about,
Right.
bow at my knees. It wasn't about power.
No.
It
No.
was about, she had this approachability, this humbleness. You could tell she had a good family. And I said, best smile, most beautiful, most bold choice. And she's humble. I'm going to take her.
Yep.
And she was awesome.
Yeah.
And everybody afterwards, not everybody, I'd ask certain people out of the five movies that make up that film, and there are a lot of beautiful women in all five stories,
Right.
which one is the prettiest? I didn't know what people were going to say. They said the girl from Abandon.
Yeah. So look at
So I
that.
had nothing to do with skin color or anything.
No. Yeah, see, and that's just it. And it's things that people say too that make them beautiful. That and the ease to work with. That's got to be huge when you're making a film.
Yeah, and I got to add, you made me think of something. I know it's completely unrelated what we're just saying. I want to keep on the movie, but I
Mhm.
got to say this because you go on Netflix and you watch some of these what they call train wrecks, train
Yeah.
wreck of the second concert upstate New York. What was it called?
Oh yeah,
Woodstock.
yeah,
That
yeah.
that was a
99.
disaster. Then
Yeah.
the one that was in Houston with that rapper where all those people got squished and a bunch of people
Oh
like
yeah.
10 or 12 died. What's his name? I forget because I'm
I
not into
I
rap music.
forget. Yeah, I'm not into it.
Something Taylor Scott, something Scott. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. You hear about these rap shootings. I got to tell you, my friend treated me to Metallica's No Repeat Weekend
Yeah.
2 years ago on the first American date. That was in August of 2023. Of course, I've known Metallica since '83 as a
Yep.
fan. So we go to this thing. There's 80,000 people at the Meadowlands in Jersey. I got to tell you, I said it then and I'll say it now because this is a better, bigger platform to reach out to people.
Mhm.
I was so proud of the metal community those 2 days. You had Pantera,
Yeah.
Five Finger Death Punch, Metallica, those other couple Ice Nine Kills, all these other
Right,
bands.
right.
80,000 people, August hot weather. I didn't see one fight. I didn't see anyone cut in front of each other. I
Yeah.
saw a beautiful, massive family of people that cared about one another. I saw people say, "Oh, excuse me, go ahead of me." I'm talking about big guys with tattoos, guys with beards,
Yep.
mustaches, big muscles, little guys, girls. Everybody treat each other with complete and utter respect. Even when we got on the train, we were leaving. I saw metal guys with all the jacket like you,
Hmm.
and see like an old man. Oh, excuse me, sir. Can you take my seat? I'll stand up since because it was so crowded.
Yeah.
Some people had to stand, and metal fans would give up their seat for a woman, for an older man, a
Yep.
kid.
Great to
That I
see,
was
man.
so proud of our metal family because you don't hear about shootings and all that. That happens sometimes, but everyone gives heavy metal a bad rap.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, we were as one. Whether you were Raven, Megadeth, Metallica, Slayer, Slipknot, all those people were one group and
Yeah.
they treat each other great. And I'm very proud to say that. I had to tell a story because the world should know that's our family, our metal family.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been my experience for the longest time. I mean, there are like anything else, there's always a time where, somebody gets out of hand or something like that.
Yeah,
But I've always felt embraced by the community,
yeah,
by that hard rock and metal community. I go to the clubs, and I'm a photographer, so I'm in the theaters shooting a lot, and I've always had respect from everybody around me. They'll move to the side to let me in for a second and stuff like that. There's never anything that's out of the way. Very, very rarely, like I say, do you ever see anything like that. And that, like you, I'm really proud to be part of that community, and
no,
it's
no,
it's great.
no doubt about it. I'll mention this too, that the drag racing community, NHRA, is
Yeah.
really, really similar. You could go to a drag race by yourself. I will be at a drag race next Sunday because I'm going. I planned the whole trip around this date. The premiere actually happened second. My father died 6 years ago. His wishes were to have his ashes scattered on a drag strip on the side of the drag strip.
Wow.
So uh, the closest track to where my dad and where I grew up was at the time in the 70s was Seattle International Raceway, SIR, which has since been called Pacific Raceways. So I contacted Pacific Raceways after my dad died in October of 19. I said, could we scatter my dad's ashes? Would that be okay? He said, yes, it's been done before. We just have to coordinate it with you. So I looked at the calendar this year and I said, when is the big race? There's one a year in Seattle, the Northwest Nationals. It's next Sunday, July 20th. I contacted Pacific Raceways. They said we could do it before the race at 9 or we could do it after at 4:30. I said, let's do it before the race. So at 9 a.m. next Sunday in Seattle by the starting line, the flower garden, my dad's ashes will be scattered by his friends, my family, any of my actors. If there's anyone listening to this that lives in Seattle, I have a group discount for anyone that's coming for my dad that day,
Uh,
20% off the tickets. You'd have to contact me and contact the lady there to get that 20% off. But Ron actually offered to sing the national anthem, but they had someone already contracted that sang the
ah,
Canadian anthem as well as the American anthem.
right.
So I don't think he'll be that for that reason because he's got to get ready for the premiere that night.
Right,
So
right.
so my dad's ashes get scattered at 9, and at 8 o'clock that night we have the world premiere.
Man. That is awesome, man. That is so nice.
Yeah,
That's great. That's great. What a day it's gonna be, man. What a day it's gonna be.
yeah.
It's pretty cool. Um, you had no hesitation in asking Ron Keel to be in this movie. Um, you have a model.
Caitlin Jane,
With Caitlin Jane.
Playboy Playmate,
Playmate
FHM model.
Playboy, yeah, and fitness. She does fitness now
Yep.
too. You have Melody Portnoy.
Mike
Um,
Portnoy's daughter.
yes,
Yes.
absolutely, and
And his
Marlene.
wife, his
Yeah,
wife's in the movie too, Marlene.
Marlene. Yeah,
And
yeah.
Marlene and Melody will both be in Seattle next weekend.
That's so cool. It's so cool. But I see these people, and these are people that I know from the rock and roll world, of course.
And you, by the
Uh,
way, Marlene was in Mean
Mean
Street.
Streak.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, which was a great band. I thought it was a great band. They rocked.
And Lisa Mayon is also in beginning and like Marlene is. I can't tell you where, but they're both in the movie as kind of extras,
Yeah,
cameos.
that's so cool, man. That's so
So we
cool.
have two parts of Mean Streak in the movie.
It's pretty great, man. It's pretty great.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
We have two Mean Streak songs that they okayed to use, and John Petrucci's wife Rena
Hmm.
also okayed to use the songs. So we have two songs for the end credits. That's the music is Mean Streak, and there's the Dark Gift off their last EP. Moon was it Blood Moon is in Begin the End. It's in there too. Okay,
I love it, man. I love it.
I'm
It's
a
so
metal
good.
guy. You could
It's
tell, right?
absolutely. I love that, man. It's so cool. And I could tell by watching the other films too, and like Double Vision has Jeff Westlake, who's been on the show, and Hydrogen,
Yep,
Lee Small, who's been on the show with and Shy,
yep,
John Gallagher and Raven, he's been on
yep.
the show. I'm looking at this, I'm like, why is there all my rock and roll friends on here? I was like, wow,
Rex Carroll.
it's
Oh my
so
god,
cool.
and he's from Chicago. Rex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Ah, that's cool, man. And it's just so great. I love what you do with the music in the films, man. And like there's a reference to John Petrucci in Double Vision, which when they're talking in the room, it's like, oh my God, you'll never see that in any other film. It's a rock and roll kind of thing that's going on, and
how did you like how I flipped I said I don't like stereotype.
mhm,
I made the black guy in that scene like metal and
yes.
the white guy like rap. I purposely flipped that.
Yep, very noticeable.
Did you
Very,
like in the black guy saying, what are you talking about? Metallica, Motorhead?
and but and I'm thinking to myself, I've known black people like that in our community, and
Yes,
and that's the beautiful thing is it doesn't matter.
it don't matter.
It's like Rob Halford being gay. I don't care.
Who
Who
cares?
cares?
Who
We love
cares?
him either
Yeah.
way.
He's the
So
metal god.
yeah, totally, man. And and that's the beauty of that community. And I felt like that switch there was, something that really brought that out.
Excellent.
It can happen that way, for sure.
And how did you like the way I used the songs in the movie? Because the people out there watching the show or listening may not understand this, but I don't just throw them in.
Hmm.
Like the song has to fit what's happening on screen or being said. It
Yep.
can't it can't be wrong.
Yeah.
That's why when I recorded Rena and Lisa Mayone for the Mean Streak interview on my YouTube channel, at the end I asked them, Rena, could I use any of the songs on the show? She goes, you could use them on the show and your movie. And when
Cool.
she said that, I didn't automatically say, "Oh, I've got a Mean Streak song." I had to think about it and like listen to the songs really carefully. And
Right.
then maybe a month later, I said, "I'm going to use the song."
Yeah. Yeah, it's great, man. Yeah, they're crafted to the film.
Yeah.
And as much as you like I may be wrong, but as much as you liked and wanted to use those songs, if they didn't fit the film, you wouldn't have used them, right? I
Look,
mean,
like Evergrey is one of my favorite bands, and the lead singer, mastermind behind the band, Tom. Uh, I've never asked him for a song. He goes, "When are you going to ask us for a song?" I've never found the right movie,
right,
and they're
right.
one of my favorite bands.
Yeah. Yeah, and
It's got to fit.
it's got to fit. And just like that social issues thing, it's got to fit the character. It's great
Yeah.
to put it in there if it fits.
I've never put a Ron Keel song in my movie yet.
Right.
What does
That's
that
fine.
tell you?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So it's not unlike Hollywood, which I think they just get the hot 100 hits or whatever, and they throw it, and it's always doesn't fit, doesn't it's off, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel. I don't do that. I got to feel it.
Hmm.
And I know that these movies, when you're a writer, director, producer like me, and I create these people, I create these worlds, everything you see and happen, whether it's Double Vision, Anomaly, Miss Scarlet, which is coming up, that's the next movie. Um, I see here the movies as I'm writing them.
Yeah.
I'm talking
So
about
cool.
even down to the lens, which lens we're shooting on. Because I'm a visionary director. I don't say that, well, it might come across pompously or egotistically. I don't mean it to, but
Yeah.
that's the way I think.
Hmm.
I'm not guessing. I have a vision. And that's the guys that I admire, whether it be John Carpenter, James Cameron, Michael Mann. You could say, uh, I think that Fede Alvarez with Don't Breathe, the Evil Dead remake, Alien Romulus. He's one of my favorite new directors of the last 15 years. That man has a vision.
Yeah.
Or you could go back to RoboCop with
Right.
Paul, you know, Verhoeven, whether RoboCop or Flesh and Blood, or even back to his European stuff like The Fourth Man, things like that, or Total Recall, right?
Yeah.
Basic Instinct,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that man has a vision. So those are the guys, Hitchcock, Alfred Hitchcock. These are the guys that I aspire to be. I don't aspire to be a garage, low rent film director. I'm shooting for that really high level,
Mm-hmm.
like David Fincher, Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
Like that's the level I try to shoot for. Though it may not be a Hollywood backed film, if
Right.
you
Right.
watch my movies, I shoot anamorphic widescreen. Now, Double Vision was not that. I hadn't got to that point where I could
Yeah.
afford those lenses and such.
Right.
But ever since we did the trailer for Anomaly, everything's anamorphic.
Ah, nice.
So Doubles Five was not, Gruesome Threesome was not, Evil Streets was
Right.
not. But since 2022, everything's anamorphic.
Man. And it's, yeah, it's a huge difference. I mean, it's got that whole,
Big.
atmosphere thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of the character names. They're in there for a reason, right? They pay homage to those guys. Dr. Hitchcock,
Yes.
Officer De Palma.
Yes.
I noticed that, that is all. I'm like, yeah. And every time I see you, except for this time, you have a horror genre T-shirt of a different
Yes.
kind on. You love that
I
thing.
love it. I've got
Yeah.
one I've never worn before, brand new, that's going to be unveiled at the premiere next Sunday. And I'm really particular about what I choose. It's kind of a, I don't know exactly each time which one I'm going to get, but I have a general idea of what type of horror film, whether it's a slasher or a zombie movie or a gore
Right.
film. I've got certain things, or if it's just a director like Hitchcock, yeah, that's very premeditated. So I've got my one I'm wearing next Sunday, which I've never even worn before. Yeah, today I didn't do it just because it was hot.
Yeah, man.
It's so hot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's hot here in Chicago too, so I know the hell you're going through for
By the
sure.
way, by the way, I'm glad. Thank you for catching that with the names and stuff.
Yeah.
I do that so much that people probably don't even realize how much not only nods to names and films and locations, which I do all the time. I've got double meaning for so many things. Like, okay, right, double vision, right? So
Mhm.
double vision, if you think of the meaning of that name, right? The
Right.
actual like technical vision, seeing things twice, right? So the two friends at the beginning of double vision, right? The girl on the phone at the very beginning,
Yep.
her name is Debbie, and then the friend with the guy, what was his name? I've got so many movies in my head. His name starts with a D too. I can't remember his name. I've got so many movies in my head right now.
Right.
So it was double D. So
Ah,
that's like double vision.
right.
The two business partners at the end, towards the second half onward, the yoga instructor and the gym owner,
Yeah, yeah.
two women that are business partners. That's two. Reflections in mirrors. If you watch some of the shots, sometimes you're not actually looking at a person, you're looking at the reflection of them in a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Or the psychic woman, Siaki's character,
Yeah, yeah.
um, being at a table where you see the reflection of the two people at the table. So I do that so many. I'll tell you what, the next film, Miss Scarlet, every single character is named either their first or last name is named after an actor that was in a slasher film or a slasher character. But it might be a real person's name first and a fictional character second. But every single name is either from Black Christmas, Halloween, Scream, My Bloody Valentine, The Prowler,
Right.
Burning, House of Sorority Row, Prom Night. I mean, Psycho. They're all slasher names. Every single one of them.
I love it. It's great. And I love that the respect that you give to the genre, to the directors, to your influences, things like that.
Yeah.
It's really cool. This movie particular, back it's four films, right? Four films
It's
in one.
it's four films, an anthology like Creepshow or Tales from the Crypt or
Right, right.
or Twilight Zone.
Yeah. and when I see that, the thing that I immediately think of, because it had such an impact on me as a kid, is Trilogy of Terror.
I was going to guess it. I was going to guess it.
It's
Yes.
and that's the one. That's the whole, especially the Karen Black,
Zuni fetish
voodoo.
doll.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was, and I love the other stories in that too. But that was the one that
But by the
really
way,
did it.
that director, Dan Curtis, he is so underrated. A lot of people don't even probably know his name. But if
Right.
you think about that film, think about the original Night Stalker with Kolchak,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
took place in Chicago,
Yep.
right? Am I right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And also he did Dark Shadows,
Oh, wow.
the soap opera vampire
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was also a TV movie he made back in the early 70s. Most people probably never heard of it. It was one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my whole life when I saw it as a kid. I saw it when I had the flu, so I was throwing up and stuff. And it's called the Norliss tapes. And it has Roy Thins and Angie Dickinson and
Oh,
Claude Akins from Sheriff Lobo
yeah.
from what do you call it? And it's a vampire, but he doesn't talk. You rip your head off, and it was really scary. And I
Wow.
saw that on TV with my dad, and it scared the crap out of me. That's Look it up. It's called the Norliss tapes.
Yeah, I'll have
Probably
to check it out.
74, 75, something like that.
Okay.
Great little TV horror film,
Yeah. Wow.
like Dark
Wow.
Knight of the Scarecrow or Duel, something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's Dan Curtis.
Dan Curtis, absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. See, and that inspiration for doing four films like that, you had to think about that, right?
Yeah, the way this movie came together, and to be complete honest to you, I was trying to raise the money for Anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
And we did the trailer in February 2022 after the pandemic was kind of starting to come out of it. And I tried to raise the money through like just cold calling investors, people on the internet. I was trying to raise $689,000 budget, which is not cheap.
Okay. Right.
I raised about 70,000, but that's not enough to make the film.
Right.
So I was now flash forward like a year and a half to try and do it. And I said, I got to make a film. I can't be stationary. As a director, you can't sit still. And a year and a half's a long time. You don't live forever.
Sure.
So in my head, I thought, okay, I know I could make a 20-minute movie. I'm very experienced at doing anthologies. I've been part of three other ones before this anthology.
Right.
I was part of one in the late 90s called Evil Streets, which
Okay.
starred Serena Lee, the big bust legend from the 90s. She was in an episode I directed and wrote called Stock. I did another episode for that anthology called The Downfall of Johnny Garrett, about a thug that rapes a girl, and then she contacts the spirit of a dead friend to get revenge on the guy who raped her. So it's kind of a I spit on your grave type revenge movie,
Yeah, yeah,
though not as quite as graphic, but we have some graphic gore in it too.
yeah.
So I did two of those movies, a part of that anthology. Then I was part of Devil's Five,
Right.
five movies about the devil, and I directed three of them. So now I'm part of two anthologies, and I directed five episodes, three and two, right?
Right.
Then a friend of mine who's a director said to me, "What are you doing the two movies back from Evil Streets that are not released anymore?" He goes, "You should film a new wraparound, take those two movies from that film, and do you have anything else you could throw in for it?" I go, "I do have a 45-minute movie about a female serial killer back in the '03 called Hair of the Dog, which Michael Romeo did music. OSI with Mike Portnoy up was in that.
Yeah.
We also had Skull Grinder, another heavy metal band locally.
Right.
So he says, take those three movies and shoot a new wraparound. You have another anthology. And that became Gruesome Threesome. So those three anthologies, I had directed essentially for like eight films, right? Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Eight.
yeah. Right, right.
So when this came up, I said, "Oh, I'm pretty good at doing these anthologies." And so I said I could do a 20-minute movie. Let me recruit a couple other directors. They have The reason why I'm recruiting them is not because I need help making a movie. I don't have the money to make all the four
Right.
films. That was the
Right.
point.
Yeah.
So I said so I had very distinct vision of what I wanted to do because I was so Gruesome Threesome was a webcam horror film. Two people on a computer watching other movies, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Devil's Slime was a found footage horror film.
Right, right.
Buying cameras, dashboard camera on a cop car, that kind of thing. And Evil Streets was a urban horror film
Okay.
on the streets. So I said, okay, I want to start with no credits, so it seems like it's real. I want to all have to take place on the same night. Anybody that already made a film, I'm not interested. Has to be a brand new movie made for this feature, right?
Nice.
So I said one's going to start at 8 p.m. I'm going to go first because I know you got to grab the audience. And I said I want to grab them by the balls. I've been wanting to make a movie like the first Texas Chainsaw,
Yeah,
Toby
yeah.
Hooper's God rest his soul, his masterpiece. I didn't want to copy the story or these characters going out in this finding this house and there's a family of cannibals. It wasn't about the story. It was about the feel, that unrelenting, brutal, nihilistic feel where you had no hope and it doesn't stop. It's not so much about graphic gore because even Toby didn't really have a lot of blood.
Right.
Gunnar Hansen, rest his soul. He wasn't like chopping people's heads off and stuff. You'd
Right.
see the chainsaw with the girl on the meat hook, but you didn't really see what happened. So I wanted to create that unrelenting, brutal feel. I remember when I saw Chainsaw the first time, I didn't see it in the theater when it first came out. I was probably too young. I
Yeah.
saw it on VHS in the early 80s.
I did too.
And I,
Yeah.
and I remember it felt dangerous to me.
I felt like it was like almost like a snuff film.
Yes.
I was watching like actual footage, although it wasn't like
Yes.
a Blair Witch actual footage
Wasn't that
thing.
crappy, shaky crap.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I really felt like this had happened. Did this really happen? And this is this the real footage?
Yeah.
It was very real,
Yeah.
without showing you a whole lot. And I think maybe that's why, because it's a little here and a little there, and it's on the edge. You don't get a real clear picture, so you look further into it, I think.
And I think there's moments in that film that a lot of people never probably talk about or even think about that are so artfully done. Maybe not with premeditation, because I know they didn't have a big budget. They're shooting that hot weather, in those conditions with that, young cast, young director on, I think, his third film, you know, um, there's these happy accidents that probably happen on that. Like I think about when they walk in that house before they get to the Sawyer house, and there's all those daddy land legs up in the ceiling, and they're kind of
Yeah.
like together, like going like this. And I think that Wayne Bell and Toby put that sound effect that like the sound, like they're kind of cluttering. And then there's like the scene where the two people are walking, and they find this camouflage cover over all these cars that are
Uh,
empty and abandoned. And like you might not even know what that means. Obviously, later you know it's all these people that must have got killed by
right.
these cannibals. But like moments like that, it's not even about the meat hook or the skull with the feathers in the room. These little moments, the girl, Terry, what's her name? Nunn's character, where she gets off the swing and the camera goes under the swing, that dolly shot, and you're
Uh,
right behind her behind
yeah.
the tight shorts and the house, because they're using that wide angle lens, the house gets bigger and bigger as we get closer and move towards it
Mhm.
with Daniel Pearl artfully doing that dolly shot. It's amazing. That's the kind of things I was thinking about for my movie, that though I didn't have to copy that. And then there were three other things I wanted to fuse with Chainsaw. Kind of similar, Wes Craven's first film, which, in all respect is crude. It's not shot really well. It's acted kind of hit and miss. But if you watch Last House on the Left,
Mhm.
similar to Chainsaw, it feels real.
Yeah.
It feels like you're there. And it feels really, the violence feels like nasty.
Yeah.
It's not maniac or cannibal Holocaust gore, but it's got this realistic gore to it. And I wanted to combine that with a John Carpenter look. So anamorphic widescreen lenses that are beautiful, movement, rack focus, all this kind of cool stuff. And also like a John Carpenter siege movie. So like a Solar Precinct 13, The Fog, Halloween,
Hmm.
The Thing. Movies like where you're in a trapped place and it kind of gets smaller and
Right.
smaller. And then there were one other thing. This was an important thing. It was actually one of my first things I thought about. I wasn't alive when it came out, but the Orson Welles famous radio broadcast back from the late 30s, the War of the Worlds broadcast, where you thought some people that thought when they heard that maybe aliens were coming down to Earth.
Right.
So I thought, how could I do that in today's world? So I reached out to a friend of mine, David Melanson, who has supported financially a bunch of my films since Devil's Five. He's
That's
been
great.
great. He's really put big money into my films. I said to him, "Would you what's a good reason for people to kill each other?" Because I knew we had to do it cheap. So people killing each other is cheaper than aliens, werewolves, vampires, monsters,
Right,
Bigfoot, all
right.
that. So he goes, "Oh, AI,
Ah,
AI,
yes.
AI could do it with fake text, fake phone calls, your smartphone, your smart home, your smart car,
Yep.
your computer, everything." And I clicked. I was like, "Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
I can write the script now." So all the four films use AI in slightly different ways. They're not all the same story.
Hmm.
So, and I want to make this clear, not so much for credit, but just so people will know when they see the film. So I wrote, direct, and produced the first movie,
Okay.
which is also called Beginning of the End. It's the feature film name and it's the first episode name because it was
Yeah.
the first thing that started it all.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
second movie, which is called Colorblind, that was written and directed and produced, edited, all this stuff by a first time director named Jack Marzliano.
Uh,
So he goes to his movie starts at 8:30 p.m. My first one starts at 8. So they're not quite linear, but kind of almost.
okay.
The third movie starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, and that's another first time director, which is a guy named Zach Maldonado.
Hmm.
And then the last movie is also me. I wrote and directed and produced, and that's called AI. It was supposed to be four different directors, but directors have very fragile egos, and sometimes they quit for different reasons.
Yeah.
And I had three guys quit that were
Okay.
set in the film at different times. Zach came in to replace a guy who had quit after another guy had quit. One guy said, "I don't have a good enough idea." Another guy said, "I don't feel a strong enough urge to direct."
Wow.
And another guy
Okay.
got his feelings hurt when I had already started the process of putting together AI. And he had said to me, "Well, why are you doing all this work when we haven't approved your script?"
Uh,
And I said, "Wait a second." I said, "Wait a second. Let me ask you a question. Did I have to approve your script?" He said, "No." I said, "Out of all of us, who's the only guy that's made a movie so far for this feature film?"
uh,
He said, "You." I said, "How many anthologies have you worked on?" He said, "This is my first." I said, "This is my fourth anthology film, feature film. How many anthology segments have you made?" He goes, "This is my first."
yeah.
I said, "This is my eighth." I said, "Did you get the guy that's going to put the money into AI?" He goes, "No." I said, "Have you been able to make your movie so far?" He said, "No." I said, "When did you get involved?" He said, "Back in January." I said, "What month is this?" He said, "September." I said, "When did you write your script?" He said, "April." I said, "What are you waiting for?"
Uh,
"What are you waiting for?"
uh,
He quit the next day.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those things is it can't be easy.
No.
It's a lot of work to get one of these done. And that ease of working with people. That if you got to be compatible. There's a chemistry. Much like a band would be, I guess. When you're especially, you're putting together an anthology like this with different directors and different storylines for everybody to be happy and harmonious with what's the final the final film. It's a process. How long from beginning to now, film done, ready to be premiered? Um, how long has it been?
So I started right. I came up with the idea for beginning of the end, the first episode
Hmm?
in August of 2023.
Uh,
And I wrote it, I'd say September into October.
okay.
And then I started to watch a bunch of films on YouTube to try to find the other directors I could recruit. And I must have reached out by email or phone or text or YouTube message or Instagram, probably about 60 directors. And
Wow.
I would say to you, out of the 60 I reached out to,
Wow.
because of different attitudes that directors have, I would say that 70% never even responded.
Wow.
Nothing. No email back,
That's
no phone call
crazy.
back, no, it's a complete lack of respect.
Yeah.
And I get people are busy, but trust me, I work two jobs and I'm working on three movies right now. I am very busy.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you couldn't just, but then there were some people that would come back to me and they would say, thank you, but I'm involved with other films.
Right.
Then I got a very common response I got was, do you have a budget? And
Yeah.
my think about this. My fast response back to them was says, if I have a budget, I do not need you.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
don't. I
Right.
don't need anybody
You
helping me
could.
make a movie.
Right. You could
Just
do
my
that
crew
whole
and my
thing.
my team of actors. But I
Mhm.
don't need another director.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm only
Yeah.
asking you is if someone has the resources or money to pull it with mine to make four films.
Right.
But I don't need their help. Trust
Right.
me. Trust
Right.
me.
Right. Oh yeah. That's quite obvious. Yeah.
So then
Um,
guys would jump out the phone. But anyway, I don't mean to go on. Yeah, so I'd say I audition actors or not actors. I petition directors December, January 2023 going into 24.
mhm.
Then we started having meetings with all the directors on Zoom almost every Sunday from January to about May. And we were going to originally crowdfund together. And
Right.
when the one director quit because he didn't have a big enough urge to direct after 4 months of meetings, which is
Uh,
pretty surprising,
yeah.
I saw it coming. And at that, I anticipated 2 weeks beforehand because I've been doing this for 38 years plus.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I said to the guys, if this guy drops, which I think he will, I will make a second film. I said I always carry the heaviest load. I carry 2 out of 3 with the Evil Streets, 3 out of 5 with Devil's Five, 4 out of 4 with Gruesome Threesome, and in this case, 2 out of 4 with Begin the End. So I just said I don't make excuses. I make things happen. I will write another script, even though I don't really want to do it, but I will do it so that we have enough films. And so anyway, that ended up happening. So you kind of, so since that guy whose idea was to crowdfund together who quit May of 8, 2024, I knew that I was going to direct a movie in August, no matter what. That was my site. And I
Right.
don't deviate from my site. So the crowdfunders out there that contribute to my fund, my campaigns,
Hmm.
they know this guy's going to make a movie.
Yeah.
He's going to do what he says. And so I said, I've got to shoot in August, which means it's going to take me about a month to prepare it because you don't just throw it together. You
Right.
got to put it together smart. So I said, okay, I got to start right now, middle of May, to be ready to launch the middle of June. So it goes for 30 days to the middle of July. And then it takes about 2 weeks to get the money from Indiegogo. And by August 10th, which was my first shooting date, I will have the money a week or two before then.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it happened. And we exceeded our goal, first time in my career.
Great.
We shot exactly on 2 weekends. Ron Keel was on the second weekend. Caitlin Jane, Matthew Dalton Lynch, and they were in both weekends. And then Melody Portnoy and some of the other characters, they were in the second weekend. Um, and we did exactly what we said we are going to do. And I'll be completely honest with you, Scott.
Hmm.
In my 38 plus years of making movies, my 43rd production doesn't mean they're all big. Even if it was doing a amateur music video to a Pantera song from their glam years of '85, or Malice, or
Yeah.
a band like that that I could never release because I can't didn't have permission to use. But I told a story to their song.
All
I did
right.
George Winston, Metallica, Madonna, George Michael, all these different ones, right?
Oh,
Lizzie Borden, I've done a bunch of them. So Kraft, the name goes on and on. That was my 43rd production. Out
wow.
of all those years and all those productions, beginning of the end, August 2024, 2 weekends, Caitlin Jane, Ron Keel, Matthew Dalton Lynch, Melody Portnoy, uh, Zane Claudio, Cameron Hudson, uh, Benjamin Brown, extras like Marlene and Lisa,
Hmm.
the two rock fans from Minnesota that flew out to be extras. Um, that was the best experience I've ever had in my entire career.
Ah, that's awesome. That's
We
so.
were really ready. Storyboarded for the first time, every shot figured out. We crowdfunded. We had more than enough money, and we had a great location, 4,500 square foot George Washington house. We shot the entire film in his house and slightly out of it. And I had a great time. We had a great time. It was
That's
a lot of
so
work.
cool.
You're talking
Oh,
14-hour days.
yep.
That's the norm. But we were really organized.
Yeah.
And it was such a great experience that a week after we finished shooting, I woke up on a Sunday morning early. I don't usually sleep late. I woke up
Mhm.
like 6:30 and I said, I want to make a slasher film. First time a true slasher film in my entire career. I want to make a slasher film, and I want to work with Caitlin again, and I want to work with Ron again, and I want to work with Melody again, and I want to work with like everyone from beginning to the end,
Yeah.
and some of the people from AI, which I made after that.
Okay.
Well, at that point, I didn't know because we hadn't made it yet, but
Right.
I ended up wanting to work with some of those people. Well, but it was really the people from beginning to end. And so I called up Caitlin that day, and I called up Ron, and I said, how would you like to be the lead role in a slasher film that I'm not going to be able to write for probably a few months because I was too busy on AI
Right.
and editing now begin the end.
Right. Right.
So I said, I'm not going to be able to write it for like 3 months, 4 months, but I want you both to play the lead roles. And I said, I don't know how much money we will have, but I'm going to go for a bigger budget,
Hmm.
but I want to work with you. And they said, I'm in, like that. We're
Yep.
both in.
Well,
We're
they
both
had a
in.
great time too. Obviously, I'm sure they had a wonderful time working with each other. Sounds like you had the right chemistry. You had all of those people that were going in the same direction, uh, and that's as a director, you try to. I would imagine you try to get people going in that direction of your vision.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people go sideways. It's not always easy.
Just like a band, right?
Right.
Look at Rat, how they're always fighting, Dokken, right?
Right.
So yeah, they were, what it was, Scott, was you had people that were completely professionally ready. They came on set, knew their lines in and out. Ron had every action down, every fight aspect, every physical moment. They had worked it out before they even we had done 5 months of read throughs. So we had done it together. They had also done it on their own.
Right.
Ron told me that he had a process where he would read the script in the morning. He'd audio record it, listen to the audio recording of the script he read, and then do the script again at night. So he was learning by saying twice and listening every day. That's a great
Wow.
way to prepare. And I'll give you one last thing about the two of them that I give them a lot of credit. That second weekend we were working with Ron, and Caitlin was in every shoot. Alien Romulus had come out that Friday of that weekend of August. I think it was August 17th. And I said, do you guys want to go see it with me? Because I was ready. There was nothing left for me. I knew every shot, every lens, everything. We're ready.
Right.
And I said, I don't need to, because, as a director, this is a good this is a good tip for any of the directors out there. When you're going to make a movie, the closer you get to the date, it's not about getting all hyped up and having Red Bulls and all this other crap. It's actually the opposite. You need to get zen, do yoga, watch maybe part of one of your favorite movies, go to the gym and work out, go to bed early, eat really, really good right before you go out if you don't do that all the time. You want to be opposite of intense. You want to be so calm and relaxed. If you've done your homework and if you've prepared, you need to be relaxed. Because if you're like this and you're bugging the
Mhm.
bottle, what's that going to do as the leader of the production?
Right.
You've got to be under control. I don't rush. I don't, someone's driving behind me and honking. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I'm going to
Right.
drive my own speed because I am zen. I'm ready to make this movie and we're not, and we're going to do it really professionally. We're going to have fun. We're really serious, but you don't have to be uptight.
Yeah.
That's not, I don't sit there and yell and scream at people. People love working with me. I asked Mike Portnoy, right? So Mike Portnoy, I had met him a few times behind the scenes as a journalist over the years, but we
Right.
weren't friends. But after I'd worked with his wife and daughter, I
Right.
had said to Melody, or actually to Marlene, I think it was to Marlene, I said, look, Dream Theater's been my favorite band since 92. It's not the reason why we're working together. That
Right.
happened by accident. But I said, I wonder if, I haven't seen the band play since Mike left in 2010.
Hmm.
He's my favorite drummer.
Yeah.
I refused, as good as Mangini is, I just didn't feel like going to see him. It's not the same band.
Yeah.
And so she said to me, I said, look, I don't want to be, you know, I feel entitled, but maybe would it be possible to see a show next year when they go out with Mike again? And she goes, you're part of Dream Theater's family now,
That's awesome. That's so
which is
cool.
incredible. So I went to the Connecticut show with I brought a guest. She gave me two tickets and backstage. And by the way, this is a real credit to Mike Portnoy. 31 times best modern drummer, Hall of Fame, youngest drummer in the Hall of Fame,
Yep.
my favorite drummer. So we wait for them after the show. We go in the waiting room and they had different people had to wait for different who your guest was. He says, which guest are you? I said, Mike Portnoy. So eventually this guy come out and he goes, didn't even say anything. He goes like this. So me and my friend Ernie go walking over. I've never had this done. I've been backstage a lot of times
Hmm.
with different, I don't mean Dream Theater, but other bands, right? And so we go over and Mike is in this hallway and he says to the security guard, this is my guest. I don't want anybody coming down here. Do not let them come down. I'm going to spend time with my guests.
That's
Really, it
so
was
cool.
me because Ernie was my friend, and Ernie wasn't even really a Dream Theater fan. He just was a
Right.
metal fan. So so me and Mike talked like 15, 20 minutes. Nobody could come and interrupt us. And I what was my whole point of the story? Um, what were you saying before this? I know it's what spurred this on.
Um, I don't know. Working with Marlene and
Yeah, it just
Melody.
yeah, it just yeah, that was exactly it. I asked Mike, I go, Mike, and wasn't about fulfilling my ego, blowing my head up. I said, what did your daughter and Marlene say about the movie? And he said, all they said was they love you.
Yeah, that's so awesome. How great is that to hear
And that
for
made me
him?
feel great because I'm not an asshole on a movie set. I'm not obnoxious. I mean, if you fuck with me on my movie,
Well,
I
yeah,
will be the devil.
right,
You'll
right.
see a tail with pitchfork and everything right in front of your face. But I'm a really good guy unless you push me the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I work harder than anybody because I'm the writer, director, producer. So,
Hmm.
my level of work ethic is that's why I think Ron likes me because me and
Yeah.
Ron are the same.
Yep.
We work like demons. But I guess my whole point of the biggest story, going back to Alien Romulus, I know we got off sidetracked,
Hmm.
was I asked them, did they want to go see Alien Romulus in IMAX opening night? And they both said to me, no. And this was not together, individually. No, I'd rather stay back and go and prepare. And they both stay back.
Wow. Wow.
And I went and saw Alien Romulus on the big giant by myself, and I freaking loved it. Anyway, so that yeah. I just gotta tell you, Ron and Caitlin, they are the real deal.
Yeah.
It's not about Caitlin's face and her hair and that Playboy Playmate body,
Hmm.
and Ron Keel being a 3 million albums sold rock country metal rock star.
Right.
They are 100% committed to the roles. They work them out. They come completely repaired. And maybe this is the best part. They like the process of making movies.
Yeah.
Making movies is not glamorous. It
Yeah.
is very difficult. It's long days, sweaty, get pushed down. Okay, get back up, get pushed down again.
Yep.
It's these constant things. Caitlin told me the day after we left, she texted me, unprovoked texted me. It's still on my phone. And she said, I didn't want filming to stop. I was on cloud nine. I'd always
Great.
dreamed of hoping to be in a movie. I didn't think it ever really happened. And she said, I had so much fun. The actors blew me away. And she said, I consider you not only a phenomenal writer, director, producer, and a mentor, but a friend.
Ah, that's so nice, man.
And she says, I hope it's not the last time we work together. And it will not be. We are making another movie. The crowd fund launches next Sunday, July 20th, the same day we premiere the movie.
Yeah.
I've got it mostly ready. But the reason why we're doing that is because we want to make the film in September. And we figured if someone's sitting in that movie theater and
Hmm.
sees the high level of skills of my team and myself as filmmakers,
Hmm.
they could go on their phone that night and say, I want to support because these
Yeah.
guys are good. And I got to say this not to discredit the other directors. And
Hmm.
I'm not trying to, belittle them or, cut them down. I actually saw all the four films for the first time Friday night
Okay.
because we had the Blu-ray and the DCP getting ready for the premiere. And I had to make sure everything was right. And there were a few things we had to fix. The sync went out on one thing of one of my movies, and I didn't really. I sped the credits up a little bit. They were too long.
Okay.
It was like 12 minutes for
Right.
four
Right. Right.
movies. I got it down to six. So we fixed it. I had to watch. I was too busy. I couldn't watch their movies. I was never on set. I was determined not to hold their hand. I wouldn't want someone to do that to me.
Right. Right.
The only thing I'll say for the expectations of the audience out there, and it's not to knock down Jack and Zach.
Hmm.
They are first timers, and it shows. It shows.
Right.
Get when you watch the first film and the last film, you're looking at a guy that's made 8 anthology segments, 4 anthology feature films, 43 productions. I've won Best Director, Best Horror Film, Best Thriller, Top Audience Award, Grand Prize winner of 3 Minute Chillers. These guys don't have that experience.
Right.
So it's not me bragging or boasting about that. You're not going to see the same level of editing,
Of
the
course.
shots. They didn't shoot anamorphic widescreen. My
Mhm.
frame is like this. Their frame is like this.
Right.
Their cutting's a little bit off. The editing's not quite right. The color correcting is not the same. Music's not used. It's not the same films.
Hmm.
I mean, think about this. Would you want to be Dokken after Metallica plays? Would
Right.
you want
Right.
to follow Doc? Would you want to follow Metallica?
Right. It's not an easy task.
Yeah, it's like a top fuel dragster making a 330-mile-an-hour run, and then the next run is someone in their regular car.
Right. 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 And to their credit, to take that risk, to get in there, and you're following Metallica. You know what I mean? It's like that's not an easy thing, and it's daunting, and it's got to be, but they they
They did
brushed
their best.
themselves off, and they got in there and mixed it up.
Look, they made films, and you had three guys that quit.
Yeah, yeah,
Three
yeah,
guys
yeah,
quit. They didn't quit.
yeah.
It was difficult. I know they took them a while to get them done. It probably wasn't easy, but I will tell you, I had nothing to do with those shoots. I think they put
Ah,
my name as executive producer. I didn't ask for that. They
okay.
did that on their own. It was a nice thank you, right?
Hmm.
For
Totally.
involved. The only thing I told them is don't make it long. Try to cut some of your. I read a couple of their scripts. I said I think you should shorten them. It sounds like a first time director. It screams first time director. You
Right.
should cut it down, make it less, make it quick. They still kind of held on to some of that,
Right.
but
Right.
I
Right.
give them the credit that they finished, they did them. As imperfect as they might be, they have some qualities to them,
Mm-hmm.
but they are not the same experience that and you will see that when you watch the film.
Right.
You will see it in the first film, and then the second and third is going to be a little bit rocky. But then when I come back for the last, you're going to see Hollywood level shooting, acting, editing, music, directing. And now here's the really big good thing. I'm proud of this film, but the next one we do in September, it's all us. It's
That's
a
incredible.
feature slash. And by the way, I don't mean to jump off the premiere, which is most important right now,
Mm-hmm.
but when I talk about me making a slasher film, and it's not about Terry Wickham as some special director, but you have to understand what slashers mean to me. Slasher to me might mean different than even a regular horror fan. John
Right.
Carpenter's Halloween in '78 when I was 13 was the first movie that, not that I saw, but it was the first movie that hit me so hard that I knew I wanted to get involved with filmmaking after that. So it's the one that started the process of getting, I didn't know it was directing. First, I thought it was effects because at the time it was Tom Savini, Rick Baker, Dick Smith,
Right.
Rob
Right.
Bottin, Stan Winston, all those guys doing Alter States, The Exorcist, Friday 13th, Dawn of the Dead. So that was,
Crazy.
Gennaro Di Rossi in Italy. You had that stuff going on. 4 years later, I saw The Thing on opening weekend. And after I was
Yeah.
blown away by that
Yeah.
Carpenter masterpiece.
Oh yeah.
So you have to understand when I say slasher, I lived through when Halloween was released in the theater, Friday 13th,
Yep.
Prom Night, Terror Train, when things
Yeah.
would go in the drive-in as a double feature, like The Prowler, The Burning, House on Sorority Row, Mortuary, Madman, Maniac.
Right.
Go back a few years, which I didn't see in the movie theater, but saw on VHS. Black Christmas. You know, which really to me, even after Psycho from '60, Black Christmas to me in a lot of ways was like the first template of slashers for the American audience. I know Twisted the Deaf Nerve. You know, in Italy, you had Mario Bava doing stuff in early '70s,
Right.
but
Right. Right.
really, Black Christmas to me is the one Carpenter kind of copied in a way with
Yeah.
Halloween. Obviously Fred Walton copied with the phone in the house of the babysitter when a
Mhm.
stranger calls.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I say slasher, you're talking about a slasher expert that
Mm-hmm.
would watch them on Showtime and HBO when they first came out, like the Boogans and all that stuff. So
Right.
um, when I decided to do a slasher, I did not want to copy those other films, even if whether it be Scream or whatnot.
Right.
I love Scream.
Mm-hmm.
First Scream I saw like twice on the first weekend.
Yeah.
Well, it's Wes Craven, right?
Oh yeah.
So God rest his soul. So anyway, so when I talk about me making a slasher with Ron Keel and Caitlin Jane and Melanie Portnoy, Melody, I got to put that D in there. Sometimes
Right.
she says I
Right.
said Melanie, but it's Melody. Um, and Samantha Molesky, makeup artist, is also an actress.
Mm-hmm.
She's also in Beginning the End. We are going to do something that is really different.
And that's
There-
hard with a slasher film. You
There's
know.
not a mass killer killing people having sex.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
story.
That's the expected kind of thing in the slasher films.
Yeah.
It defines the slasher film a little bit.
I'll tell you one thing I tried to interject that may not have been done this way in a slasher ever. I think it's successfully that we're going to do. I'm also a big fan of the early '80s sex comedies like Porky's,
Right. Yeah.
Private School, even
Yeah.
Screwballs,
Yeah.
right? So it's not a comedy, but I wanted some characters in the movie to bring that humor,
Mm-hmm.
that early '80s sex comedy humor.
Right.
And I've interjected that in this really scary slasher film. And our cast, we've been doing read throughs for going on the third month. They laugh hysterically. Even I've laughed
I love it.
doing the read throughs. So
That's
we've
great.
got this really unique slasher. You might guess the killer is not a man. It's called Miss Scarlet.
Right. Right. It's great. I love
So
it.
all you horror fans, this is for you. If you like slasher films, if you like George Romero, John Carpenter, David Cronenberg, Wes Craven, Dario Argento, if you like
Mhm.
Maniac, My Bloody Valentine, if you like those kind of movies, but done in a slightly different way, get ready. You could be part of it next Sunday. We launched a crowdfund on Indiegogo.
It's pretty great, man. It's pretty great. Terry, this has been awesome. I want to respect your time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
West Coast Red Carpet World Theatrical Premiere, July 20th at the Edmonds Theater in Washington State, 8 o'clock. It's pretty fantastic, man. Excited about it. Can't wait to see the film, man. Terry, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Scott. I hope some of your fans can be there for that. Come up
Yeah,
to me, Ron Keel, Caitlin, the rest of us, Melody Portnoy. We'll have a great time.
yeah, it's fantastic. Terry, thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day, man. I
All right.
appreciate you.
Thank you, Scott.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.